I am Professor Pastor Arguelles Jr., the Dean of the College of Computer Studies from University of Perpetual Health System, DALTA, Philippines. So I've been in the IT industry for 7 years as a software engineer, and my platform and my uh, project is into the .NET centric and web development. I've been also a consultant in IT training, and been in the academic industry for the past 21 years. And as a dean of the College of Computer Studies, I've been there for about 8 years already. And the presentation outline that I have here this afternoon talks about the software development process, the software quality assurance, and object detecting CCTV using artificial intelligence, which is primarily the project or the studies that I have conducted before. Well, first, the software development process. It's also known as a software development methodology model, or what we call a life cycle. It is a framework that is used to structure the plan, the control of the process, the developing of information systems, and the wide variety of such frameworks that are actually evolved, that are already evolved for more than years, for over the years, each of its recognized strengths and weaknesses. So one system development methodology is not actually necessary suitable for use by all projects. So it will be depending on a type of project, a kind of project, the orientation of each organization or company or the software development team, because each available methodologies is best suited to specific kind of projects based on the various technical, organizational, project, and even the team considerations. So most methodologies share some combination of the following stages, which are the software development stages or phases: analyzing the problem, market research, gathering requirements, of course, designing a plan, or even implementation, testing the software, deployment or implementation, and even the maintenance and the debugging or bug fixing. So these stages are often referred to collectively as the software development lifecycle, or SDLC. So the different approaches to software development may carry out these stages in different orders, or devote more or less time to different stages. So there are significant advantages and disadvantages to the various methodologies. So the best approach to solving problem using software will often depend on a type of a problem. Yeah, and a type of a problem, or a kind of requirement needed by the beneficiary or a client. So if the problem is well understood and the solution can be effectively planned out ahead of time, the more things that work into Waterfall may be based approach to work the best of it. And then if on the other hand, the problem is unique, at least to the development team, the structure of the software solution would cannot be easily envisioned, and the more extreme incremental approach may work best here. So therefore, there are certain software development activities that are in place. First is the identification of need. Identification of need is usually the first evaluate. It is being evaluated by marketing personnel for economic feasibility. So why? Because it needs to work with the study on how it is fit with existing channels distribution for possible effects, and the effects on existing lines or product lines, required features, so that the company's marketing objectives can be attained. So, in a marketing evaluation phase, the cost and time consumption or assumptions are necessary in terms of evaluation. So, a decision is reached early, because in terms of software development, it may involve compromising or going beyond the requirements of the client in terms of software development project. So next is the planning. Now the planning is an objective of each and every activity that we where we want to discover things that are into types of project. And an important task in creating a software program is extracting requirements. And these requirements are actually the requirement analysis, no? And the requirement analysis is very important in the aspect of software development because it is actually the working environment on how to design the blueprint of the system or the software. So customers typically have an abstract idea of what they want as an end, no, and a result, but do not know the software should do. And of course, the software should be done by the software development team. And the skilled and experienced software developers or engineers recognize incomplete, ambiguous, or even the contradictory requirements of this at this point, and definitely frequently demonstrating the live code may help it. And third would be the designing. When you say designing, it is the software design and the system design. It is very important because you need to work with different modules in terms of overall picture, such as the block diagram, the data flow diagram, the system flow chart, of course, the software flow chart, the entity relationship diagram, the data dictionary, the URL, and so forth and so on, and how the parts actually work together. And the language operating system or even the hardware component should be known at this time, and then the detail of the low-level design is actually created. Now, in terms of implementation or coding, testing, and documenting, this part is actually is a process where software engineers actually program the code of the project. So in this part, the hard coding or the programming will be processed. So the software testing is an integral important phase of the software development process. So there are so many tests to be done in terms of software testing. Of course, the it might be the least part of the test is a component test, and after that would be a performance test or integration test. Next would be the product test, and after that would be the user's test or even the user's acceptance test. So it's very important in terms of documenting the internal design of the software for the purpose of future maintenance and enhancement. So it's just a matter on how to construct a building, a 5 or 10 story building. You need to have a blueprint. You need to have a building design in order for you to understand how the that particular establishment will be constructed or built. And in terms of deployment and maintenance, it is where after the code is appropriately tested and approved for release, definitely it will be sold. And we say it's sold, it will be implemented to the client or to the stakeholder or the beneficiary in terms of creating the production environment. So this may involve training, of course, the users and training, the environment, installation, and the parameters of customers' values, and possibly an extended period of evaluation. So normally, it has, of course, the agreement, the memorandum of agreement between the first party and the second party in order for them to understand and agree on the framework and then the scope of the project on how it's going to be done and how it's going to be implemented by the service provider. And then in terms of software training and support, it is important that the software is only effective when it is used correctly. And in that particular period, the client may understand and may know significantly if all the requirements or the business processes are met in that particular application and used. And of course, the maintaining or the maintenance and enhancing software to cope the newly discovered faults. And of course, within the period of maintenance period, and it's part of the agreement, definitely it takes substantial time and effort as missed whenever there are missed requirements or there's no perfect software whenever it is implemented. Take note of that. And it can be perfect or 100% correct during the maintenance period, where some lapses or loopholes can be found and determined. And from that end, the service provider may be able to construct correctly. Now, next is the view model. The view models is a matrix of views and perspectives in software development. Now, a view model, of course, is a framework that provides the viewpoints on the system and its environment. So, to be used in the software development process, it is a graphical representation of the underlying semantics. And the purpose of viewpoints and views is to enable the human engineers to comprehend very complex systems and to organize the elements of the problem and the solution around the domains of expertise. In the engineering of physically intensive systems, viewpoints often correspond to capabilities and responsibilities with the engineering organization. So first example is the business process and data modeling. Well, of course, the business process and data modeling, it is exactly the current state of information that provides a very effective means of presenting information to both users and system developers. So one example of it is the business model that illustrates functions or functionalities. And the data model should provides the details of information to be stored and is primary when the final product is the generation of computer software code. Now, second would be the CAI or the computer aided software engineering. So or CASE, CASE. So in this field of software engineering, it is the scientific application of a set of software tools to be used and methods to the development of software, and which actually results to high quality and even the defect free output or software output. And there are some ideas under the KCASE. This foster computer assistance in software development and software maintenance process, and an engineering approach to software development and maintenance. So it's an automated tools in terms of software development process. Next would be the integrated development environment or the IDE. So it's very important that you have identified any particular IDE or platform to be used in order for the software to run or produce. An IDE is also known as the integrated development environment or even integrated debugging environment, or a software application that provides comprehensive facilities to computer programmers to software development. So these are the source code editor, the compiler, interpreter, build automation tools, and the debugger usually. So usually these are the example of it. Of course, when you are using Java platform into web development, web-based services, could be of course in a platform of J2SE, J2ME, J2EE, Eclipse, of course, and a lot more. There are so many more. And if you are Microsoft dependent, it could be C Sharp or Microsoft .NET centric platform, and so forth and so on. So IDE is dedicated to specific programming languages. And the modeling languages, of course, these are some other platforms or other tools that are actually used in order for the software or the product to be enhanced more. And one example of it is of course, the XML form BPML. So these are into web-based development, and extended enterprise modeling language on even the algorithm, the flowchart, and so forth and so on. So primarily, we could work with the object-oriented visual design description language and even a formal specification language that is primarily and suitable by modeling large object-oriented, like, of course, as I mentioned, Java, C Sharp, C++, and a lot more. We could use, of course, Go programming language. We can also use what else? Python, no, Mercury, and so forth and so on. So can also be done with specification and description language, or even the unified modeling language, or what we call UML. Okay. Now, in terms of programming paradigm, a programming paradigm is a fundamental style, no, in terms of computer programming Definitely, it is not generally dictated to the project management, but it is a way of constructing a methodology, or like for example a waterfall paradigm or even agile. No, so the paradigms differ in the concepts of abstraction used to work with the software development, or that works with the evaluation, with the continuations of the data flows, and so forth and so on. And of course, the reuse of solutions. This is a definition of software reuse in terms of process and creating the software from predefined software documents or even the components of it. So there are following that are some common software reuse methods. First would be a software framework, that is designed in terms of implementation for a particular software system or even the subsystem. And second would be the computer component based software engineering that involves integrating together such existing components or products or performance that create an application as well. And of course, the service-oriented, the API or the application programming interface that is a subroutine or even the protocols of building application software, such the builds, no, in terms of, and of course the open source documentation. So that's part of the reuse of solutions under the view models, which is this is the secondary part or framework that is actually also significant in terms of software development process. Now, let's proceed with these are the top four software development in the modern era of software development. No, nowadays you will be surprised because one of the software development methodologies that I used here is actually a traditional methodology that is being used for the past 3 or 4 decades, no, okay, used by some by different traditional developers or engineers in the world. But first is the agile software development methodology. It has three stages, which are the plan, collaborate, and deliver. And this agile development methodology, this whenever the teams use the agile development methodology to minimize risks such as bugs, cost overruns, and changing environments. So when adding new functionality in terms of agile methods, the teams develop the software iterations, no, that contain many increments of the new functionality. What's the pros of using the positive thing or advantage of using agile development? Well, definitely, the primary benefit of agile software development is that allows software to be released in iterations. So when you say iterations, the iterative releases improve efficiency by working with teams to find and fix defects, align expectation early as possible. Because it has only three stages, and you will find exactly how it's going to be performed or done. So realize the software benefits earlier with frequent incremental improvements. What's the disadvantage of it? Definitely, this method relies on real-time communication, no, with the client, no, so that the new users, often with the lack of documentation, they need to work up to speed or to speed up. So they requires a huge time commitment from users, and are labor intensive because developers may work with the fully complete in terms of iteration for user approval. So agile development is also similar to rapid application development. It can be efficient in large of organizations, programmers, managers, and organizations. Well, just like I mentioned, the rapid application development is similar to this because it needs high requirement in terms of the capability of the software engineer, because since it needs fast and real time communication with the client, it needs like high capable software engineers to finish the project. And next would be the DevOps. So the DevOps development methodology, the advantage of using this is it is focused on improving time to market, lowering the failure rate of new releases, shortening the lead time between fixes, and minimizing disruptions while maximizing reliability. So companies that use DevOps methods benefit by significantly reducing time to market and, of course, improving customer satisfaction because it's just in terms of it highlights the product quality, of course, the employee productivity and efficiency. Of course, the disadvantage, even in light its benefits, there are new drawbacks to DevOps or disadvantages. Some customers don't want continuous updates to their systems, especially those who are old people in the organization. And when you use DevOps, these people can be sacrificed or, compromised. Some industries have regulations that they're extensive testing before a project can move to the operation phase. But of course, nowadays, it's very, especially in this pandemic period, no, here in the Philippines, many of the professors or teachers, especially the old one, no, they are now quitting from their office as faculty member or professor. Why? Because of the challenges that they were facing in the online platform in terms of teaching. So although there are trainings, learning management system tools, blended learning, distance learning, definitely people or faculty members, old faculty members cannot comprehend exactly on the online technology. Therefore, many of the teachers are nowadays are quitting from teaching and they are filing a early retirement. So that's the problem even when you use the DevOps deployment methodology in software development. Now, next would be waterfall. This is what I was trying to tell you. Waterfall development method is a traditional methodology, the most rigid linear model that consists of sequential phases. As you can see here, no, there when you have this stage requirement, and the arrow going down to the design, which means that you have to make it sure that everything is 100% done from the requirement before going through to the design. The same thing with the design to the implementation to the verification and maintenance, which means that this needs thorough process or processes. There's no verification or validation because everything should be done perfectly. Once you're done from the previous stage going to the next stage, it should be done perfectly. So error is not acceptable. Well, the consequence of the waterfall or the disadvantage of waterfall, of course, as I mentioned, it's very slow, no, and costly. Why costly? Just like the two software development model that I mentioned, it requires only a short period of time. Not really short, but definitely it's shorter than waterfall. It's costly because, of course, no longer the product or production of the software is, the longer the cost will be take in terms of manpower costing. So definitely, the project manager should understand that it needs a long period of time to finish the project and the cost. So it's more expensive. Okay, it's more expensive project. And the rapid application development, it is condensed development process that produces a high quality system with low investment cost. This is the opposite of the waterfall. This RAD process allows our developers to quickly adjust to shifting requirements, and it's fast paced, just like Agile, because the ability to quick adjust is what allows you low investment cost. So the rapid application development contains four phases. Of course, the requirements, the planning, no, and of course the user's design, the construction, and even the cutover. So these are the four stages that requires rapid application development. Of course, the disadvantage that it requires composition with highly skilled developers. So most likely, it needs certified engineers, and if they are certified engineers, high-paying job. Okay. So when I was a software engineer, our methodology, a standard methodology, was a V model. V model has planning, analysis, design, building, testing, and deployment, just like waterfall. we really scrutinize, verify well, validate well before we proceed with the next stage. So each stage has a team. Planning stage has a team. Analysis stage has a team. Building stage or software development team has a team. uh, Test stage has a team. Implementation has a team. So all of them has different people or manpower included. But definitely it runs on the quality assurance during my time. Okay, that's exactly the thing that all software developing companies should look forward to in terms of making your project suitable and quality. That's very significant and of course important. Okay, and that's the software quality assurance. Now, the software quality assurance, just to give you a background, looking back with ISO 25010 series of 2011, or what we call the system software engineering, just to give you a background, in on June 15, 2001, it is actually a ISO 9126 dash 912 ISO 9126 series of 1991, and there are four parts of it. 9126-12-4. So ISO 25010 was replaced during 2011, March 1, 2011. And this requires the System and Software Quality Requirements Evaluation, or SQUARE, because this works with system quality and the system's quality requirements of 9126 in terms of security, compatibility, in terms of additional main characteristics. And the system software models actually work with standards to work with the instance of 2500, which supersedes the 9126. And these are the eight product quality characteristics of ISO 25010. Take note that ISO 25010 is into software quality assurance, software. And functionality, it works with functional suitability, that works with interoperability, security, accuracy, and so forth and so on. The performance efficiency, this is a sub-characteristics that is renamed to the performance efficiency. This originally efficiency from its original ISO 9126-1. And of course, the compatibility works also. The usability, the portability, accessibility, reliability, modularity, adaptability. Now, in terms of developing a software capstone project, and maybe you are familiar, students are familiar, the faculty or the professors in software development or capstone projects are familiar, because whenever you have an objective in software development of the project, you need to include in your objective to work with ISO 25010 if you are dealing with software development. It is very important that some or maybe all or majority of the characteristics are being measured in order for the software to work in accordance to quality assurance. Okay? That's very as practice in our university, in my university. I am always the one who handles the subject software engineering, project management, systems analysis and design, capstone project, the thesis writing or the research in terms of applied research. So it focuses on that in this particular uh, method or process in terms of software quality assurance. Okay. Now, the fundamental of ISO product quality standards to address some of the well-known human biases. Of course, it's very important to address some of the well-known human biases that can adversely affect the delivery and perception of a software development project. That's why it's very important that you have to work with the test plan, the test cases, the test condition and expected result for you to be able to understand what particular result or output that the client may expect whenever you test the software. And the test plan, the test case, huge number of papers to be followed, to be designed, and so forth and so on. And therefore, the design team, the planning, analysis, design, build, test, the test team, the testers, okay, so they are in charge with that, in accordance to communicate to coordination with the analyst or business analyst, definitely. So it will run through the process of the life cycle model or software development life cycle model. Because quality model presented is important, that classifies software quality in structured set of characteristics and sub characteristics. Therefore, it's very necessary and a requirement nowadays, in even in if the students are actually practicing the practicing the right process, the school or the university is practicing the right process, definitely they will also process the same when they are there in the company. Okay, and it's very important. And next would be the CMMI quality frameworks. So the CMMI quality frameworks, or commonly known as capability maturity model integration, this is an industry framework to improve product quality. This is the quality assurance, both hardware and software. If ISO 25010 series of 2011 talks about software quality assurance, CMMI talks about hardware and software. So CMMI has 5 stages and 5 levels to describe the maturity of the organization, same as predecessor or the capability maturity model. And it's very significant. Whenever a company or the service provider or IT company is into, of course, software quality assurance, no, maturity is significant. Maturity, why? Because you have all the discipline. Discipline is very significant or important as one of the values that a student or a software engineer should understand and should put at the back, or even in his mind. Then definitely how CMMI helps. It improves, of course, provides a way of focus and manage hardware and software development from product inception through deployment and maintenance. So definitely, CMMI interfaces well with them. And the team leader are complementary, both are needed since they address different aspects. And this talks about process compliance standard. When I was still in the IT industry, my company is already in the level 3 of CMMI, and that's long time ago. And right now, I'm pretty sure that they are in the level 5, of capability maturity model. And it's always the thing that I encourage my students, in even in the undergraduate or even in the graduate school, that whenever you wish to work in the industry, find the companies that are into that level, the CMMI or capability maturity model integration, or working with or practicing the software quality assurance. Why? Because they have standards. And of course, if you are there, your role is defined well, very clear. And of course, the behavioral changes are needed at both management and staff levels. And initially, a lot of investment, but it's properly managed. We will be more efficient and productive while turning our out products with consistently higher quality of software and hardware. And this is exactly the CMMI models. The first level is the initial, second is the managed, three is defined, quantitatively managed, four and optimizing. So of course, the model systems engineering and software engineering, these are integrated products and process development. And it's software engineering in terms of in terms of interdisciplinary approach governing the total and technical and managerial effort required to transform a set of customer needs, and in terms of expectations and constraints into a product solution to support the solution throughout the product line. This includes both hardware and software. Okay, and of course, under a managed process, perform process that is also planned, employs adequate resources, controlled outputs are produced, stakeholders are involved, and these processes are actually work with definitely with uh, managed level and defined level. Now, in terms of defined level, uh, the process standards, procedures, tools are defined at the organizational level, and the project or local tailoring is allowed, however, and the major portions of the organizations cannot opt out whenever you are into this level. It's defined, and in terms of quantitatively managed, of course, this works with process that are controlled using statistical and other quantitative techniques. So deep research and deep standards are measured and applied. Just the same thing with optimizing the process performance, continually improve, and through incremental and innovative technological improvements. And this is exactly the same in my process, no? The project management of the process areas within each of the five maturity levels. These are five basic functions that need to be performed, and these are called the process areas. And for the maturity level 2, these are 7 process areas that are into must be completely satisfied. Maturity level, there are 7-11 process, or 11 processes rather. Given the interactions and overlap, it becomes more efficient to work the maturity level 2 and 3 issues concurrently. And within each process area, there are goals to be achieved. And within each goal, no, these are the goals or the areas. Each goal, there are practices, work products, etc., to be followed that will support each of the goals. So yet another semi-term, of course, the semi-term means to institutionalize the project or any project that works into software and systems development. Okay, so another thing, just to give you information, uh, Cmmi Institute has a program in terms of certification, examination. It could be a Cmmi associate or even Cmmi professional. Okay, so this is the project that works in the soft computing, object detecting CCTV using artificial intelligence system. It's a 2020 project or research or study. And of course, the input process output works with research. Of course, the researcher used a camera here, no, is connected to Raspberry Pi with the video footage acting as the inputs to the system, no? And the device is then placed at the entrance of the establishment or the building or the gate, no, of the company or the school or university that provides clear and unobstructed view to approaching vehicles. So of course, primarily, the objective of this is good for the university, that for all the vehicles that are entering the premise of that particular company or university. This is important since the camera module has no autofocus capability. Okay, and the process, the gathered footage here will be done, sent to the main server through a local area network. And of course, the license plate detection model on the video footage which reflect the license plates in each frame will be detected. And the output, of course, using the green and the red light, no, these are the two outputs that footage of the camera will be streamed to the personal computer. And if it's green, means recognized and it's registered, and the red light, it means not recognized, it means you need to register. Okay, and we have the database or the back end of the system where all these informations are gathered and stored here. Now, the process of the centroid algorithm, centroid tracking algorithm, in terms of object detection framework, no, it's used in the study developing the license plate detection in terms of optical character recognition models in the only look V3 framework. And this framework performs actually in terms of working with registering the detected bounding box for an object, a list of assigning unique identification number to them. And then after that, calculate the distance between new bounding boxes and existing boxes. And after that is update the X and Y coordinates of the existing boxes. So the researchers use this actually in terms of registering a new boxes or remove the boxes that are no longer in the frame, which means that's the red and the green light that occurs on the output. because the state of the registered bounding box is updated when a frame is processed. And if a bounding box is not updated, the next time the counter list of the disappeared frames is increased, set amount of frames, it is removed from the list and unregistered object or plate. And this is the system configuration of ALPR system. Okay, as I mentioned before, the availability of use of ALPR technology is not yet widely implemented in the Philippines. However, some companies provide ALPR services but still require quotation for the pricing. Actually, Smartcom is a company, Korean-based company in the Philippines that also that specializes in developing and manufacturing electronic-based devices here. So this is exactly the how the system configuration of the Smartcom ALPR system works. No, well, this is exactly the setup. No, and they have the server location here inside the guardhouse. No, and the Raspberry Pi cameras in this post. Okay, and the LED bulb placement here also in terms of detecting no the license or the plate of the car. No, and exactly um, in terms of implementation of the design process of the prototype. This is the LED and this is the red and the green light. Okay. And of course, in terms of reliability of the object detecting using the CCTV using intelligence system with real-time analysis. So this table shows that the detection counts or number of images detected you during the training or the training or uh, pilot testing. No, the total count is of course 1,007 vehicles, and the average precision of license plate detection is 99.89%. So which means that the license detection is highly reliable. So the precision 99%, interaction over union is 86.54%. So this is highly reliable and already implemented in the university. And I think that's all. Thank you for listening.
Yeah, thank you very much, Professor, for a wonderful uh, explanation, description of all the methodologies which are related to soft computing in software development exercise. So it's time for question answer. Let me know if somebody have some question. Chat box is available with us.
Can I?
Any question from the audience side? You can write in your chat box. Okay, sir, I have a question for you. When we talk about such kind of CMMI level for different software companies, so yeah, we have another question. Let's answer this question was, uh, sir, how do camera detect objects?
Come again, sir. I did not
Yeah,
catch the question.
there's a question from Santosh. Sir, how do cameras detect objects?
Okay, as I mentioned in the process of the project, no, in terms of process, the object was the gathered footage. Of course, the gathered footage of the camera will then be sent to the main server through a local area network. So the main server will then run the license plate of the vehicle or the car in terms of detection model on the video footage. And then we'll check the license plates in each frame. And after processing, the detected license plate is segmented and processed by the optical character recognition model. And there is a graphical user interface on it that displays the license plate number, the date where the car entered the premise, and the time where the license plate is scanned. So every scanned license plate will determine if the cars are registered in the establishment. So whenever the green light appears, it means that it is recognized and free to enter the premise. And when the red light's on, it means that the car is not registered. So therefore, the security officers or the personnel will assist the car owner to get of the information whenever they want to enter the car, so that they have registered into the, they do not need the sticker anymore. It's only the license plate. Okay, I hope I answered the question correctly.
Yes, sir. We have another question from Kishore. He wished to ask, how does the modularity works?
I'm sorry, sir.
How does the modularity works?
How long is the
How does the modularity works? I mean, what is the mode of mechanism working of modularity?
modality or
Modularity.
modularity?
Yes,
So are you
modularity means, yeah, different modules are there. So when we divide the work in different modules, so how this modularity being active, and what is the mode of mechanism?
well, as I mentioned in my presentation, it works on the of course it runs using the Python programming, and the object detection framework used in this study is, of course, in terms of developing the license plate detection, use optical character recognition model, and it also works with the V3 framework. So this V3 framework performs faster compared to other frameworks while maintaining the same accuracy. Why? Because the reason for this is that the image is actually forwarded, no, to a single convolutionary network wherein multiple bounding boxes are predicted, and each bounding box has its corresponding class probability. So that's exactly how it works in terms of the process of the centroid tracking, no? Of course, using the code of the program, or simply as the software development, and using these systems engineering or some devices, it runs in terms of non-maximum suppression is applied in terms of eliminating the weak predictions of the system. And I hope I answered that question, sir.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Welcome, sir.
Another question we have, sir. One of the faculty member wish to ask a question. Can you please share a little details about how to use the Mamdani Fuji interface inference system in object detection?
The Mandani?
Yeah, Mamdani Fuji inference system in object detection.
Well, using the object detection model involves in terms of gathering a large number of images. It creates a data set, no? In terms of creating a data set, it ensures that the model performs well, and the data set should be split in such a way that the validation would not be performed already in scene of the data. And of course, the researcher works with the split ratio of 80% training and 20% ratio of the data. And definitely, the split ratio is arbitrary when number of data is large or even huge. And of course, the intuition of it is 80% to 20% data. This 80-20 data set splitting is often connected to, of course, just like Pareto principle, in terms of common rule in software development, in terms of significant factor, or even the cost significant items of the object detection. Thank you, sir.
Yeah, any further question? Another question, sir. Some explanation, some details, if you can provide for fuzzy pattern vector.
Come again, sir?
Fuzzy pattern vector.
The vector.
Yeah, vector.
Are you referring to the ALPR or system configuration of the Smartcom of ALPR system?
Jyotirma, sir, do you have more details about this
If
question?
you're actually referring to the ALPR system or the system configuration
Yeah,
of this
he is
Smartcom,
asking the same object detection, detection. I think detection you want to say. Yeah, same object detection.
yeah, I think I have answered already the object detection, the process of it. But of course, just to add on it, in terms of ALPR services, ALPR system is a kind of applications that works with car parks, no, hospitals, commercial buildings, and even shopping malls. In fact, there are so many applications or models that are already implemented in the Philippines, especially in the car parking system. So this is already used, no? In terms of recognizing, I do not know if in India there is also that kind of technology that whenever you park into the mall, whenever you park in one particular area, the red light is there while the car is not parked, and once you park in that particular place, it will be red, it will be light, it will the green light will be on, and therefore it is marked also on the server, and it's scanned and detected by the system and registered in uh, in the server of the that particular application. So it's the same thing that in this particular application or project is implemented or applied. Parking, of course, the shopping malls, commercial buildings, and car parks, or even hospitals can be done.
Okay. There's another question from Prakash. Sir, he wishes to ask how about the spiral model implemented in SDLC?
Well, spiral model is, of course, uh, there is no issue. As I mentioned in my presentation, it depends on the kind of project that you are going to develop. But spiral model is not so familiar, not so popular nowadays. Of course, I never been used to spiral in any project that I develop. But I think there's an issue. That's why that is not actually being used nowadays in terms of software development. It has more complicated stages. There are more stages than Scrum or Agile or even rapid application development. Just like Waterfall, I think just like Waterfall, it needs huge number of period to in order for the project to be done. The only the only thing or difference in using waterfall model, it's just even it is slow, but definitely each stage is being processed well, defined well, 100%. But of course, I'm not familiar with Spiral and how it's going to be. As I mentioned, I did not able to use Spiral before, but definitely that's why it is not popular among those four significant models that are now used in the present trend of software development. Thank you.
Okay, yes, sir. Another question we have, sir, role of soft computing in software cost estimation.
Okay. Of course, under the cost benefits analysis, if you're talking about, if the question is about the costing, no, again, in my experience, it depends on the uh, number of modules of the application. If the application has, for example, I will give you an example of it. One of our clients, when I was there in the company developing a software, is a government, no, agency in here in my country. Very huge, of course. It's government project. Definitely, we are 150 engineers who work for that. How much time? 1 year. So again, it depends on the kind of the period or the time where it will be needed by the client. At the same time, the capabilities, the budget, of course, the contract, how much cost will it be delivered or received by the service provider. So a lot of factors to be considered in order to the project manager to work with the different people and to finish the project on time. But basically, after that, it has a lot of meetings. It has a lot of preparation and analysis and study on how it's going to be done well. But We never fail because we never fail when I was there. We never failed to deliver on time the project. Why? Because we have the timeline. We have, of course, the Gantt chart to be followed, and we need if we missed a lot of people, it will be replaced by another people, so forth and so on, and then such time that it is done. It also came to my point that I was vacated for less than a year, no project. Why? Because I remember during that time was there's an economic problem in the world, so the projects are lost and the projects are actually on hold. And of course, but after a year, it went back to normal. And of course, but of course, the IT professors or professionals in terms of software development, it's there. And it according to a study here in the Philippines, in Asia, by 2025, we have a huge number of demands in terms of IT professionals in Asia. But it's different now because of pandemic. Maybe it will be affected because that study is a study provided during the time that there's no pandemic yet. Okay. Thank you, sir.
Okay, thank you, sir. Another question we have from Santosh. Can we guess out distance between objects like for self-driving cars with the help of cameras similar to human eyes?
I'm sorry, sir, but I cannot.
Yeah, there's a
Uh,
question. Can we guess out distance between objects like we do in self-driving cars with the help of
uh,
cameras similar to human eye?
okay. I believe so. That's possible, but of course, it needs thorough study. And if you're talking about that, it will be, of course, if you're talking about, or rather, if you're asking that, if it will be humanized, are you talking about humanization, just like a car? Is what you mean? Okay, I think so, but I think it's not practical because we have the RFID technology right now that are in place in our ID, and it's already being recognized and scanned whenever we enter any premise of the company, or even the motion can be recognized by the technology. So I think it is not the only thing that the subject matter is about a plate number of the car is because a plate number is unique code or unique character. No one has the same identity as your car has, and therefore whenever it is scanned and definitely recognized by the system, it will appear there the name of the person who owns that particular car. And I think even in our back end, it's unique and definitely cannot be worked. But of course, as in terms of humanization, definitely there are some other ways to do that. And I think the technology in place is already okay for me. The RFID, the motions recognition, the face recognition, etc. The scanning of our thumb, the finger, etc. So forth and so on.
Yeah, thank you, sir, for the explanation. I think uh, there are no more questions from audience side, and just be sir, we can share the feedback form. So, on the behalf of our the fraternity of academics of LBF Nepal and APU Malaysia, we are really grateful that you accepted our invitation on a very short notice to deliver a webinar. Thank you very much. You will be on panel with us for future webinars as well, right, sir? And please take care of yourself, right? Everyone, all the audience, thanks for participation. Thank you very much, everyone. God bless you.
God bless.
Thank
Thank
you.
you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
God bless you all. Thank you so much.